Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Friday Mastermind. Todd just reminded me this is the 6th year, Friday at 9 o'clock. We've been bringing amazing leaders. Sometimes it's top 1% performing mortgage professionals. Sometimes it's leaders and authors. And today we've got two amazing guests. They were speakers at Sales Mastery this year. They did a presentation called the Neurology of the top 1%. So I actually missed that. I was at the event, but I was in my suite having some meetings. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of the highlights from that. What's up, Mr. Bookspan?
Not much. I'm super excited. I blurred my background. I'm standing in a beautiful alley in Scottsdale, Arizona, where I'm at a all-day real estate agent event. I just ran into Shannon Gillette, who's one of our keynote speakers at the Modern Real Estate Summit next week, and she is super excited for her presentation that she's going to bring. She said she's going to modify something that she recently did in California, where she said people came up to her afterwards. It was a full-day event and said hers was their favorite presentation. So I think it's going to be about getting more listings. So I think it's a great reminder, if you haven't already signed up for the event next week. Modern Mortgage is in the morning, 9 to noon, and then the Modern Real Estate Summit starts at 1 p.m. Pacific sharp. And it's just really such an easy opportunity for you to have at least 50, if not 100, real estate agent conversations between now and then. The bottom line is I think we're all looking for a reason to get our real estate partners and prospective partners excited. And I think that this is just such an easy opportunity for you all to do that. And lastly, unlike Dave, I did watch their presentation at Sales Mastery, and I've had the opportunity to interview Rachel between now and then. And I'm just super excited to have both of you here today.
So
yes, thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, I'll bring you on stage in just a minute. So Todd, I think you should take the blurred vision off. I want to see the alley a little bit.
You really
more.
want to see the alley? I think the last time I was in this alley was when,
and just showing it for what it is.
All right, hang on. I got to go. The sun is shining in my face. I'm wearing this jacket like it's 40 degrees, but let's just go. All right.
Don't worry about it. Like you could do it later.
No, that's all good. How's that? Is that better?
That actually is better, man. Like,
if I turn over here, you can see the back of the building, like the heaters. It's not very attractive, but that's all good. I was thinking it might not be super ugly, but it's really kind of ugly. But that's okay. There's no one passed out in the alley. That's okay.
And that's just a reminder to everybody, guys, when it goes to creating content and creating video, like don't worry about it. Like the only thing he needs to make sure is that like piece of light doesn't cover his face and that we can see his eyes. So let's bring on our special guests. So Angie, welcome to the Mortgage Coach. And now it's Trust Engine. So we actually are merged with a company called Sales Boomerang, and we're both under a company called Trust Engine. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer. So Angie, welcome to the call, and Rachel, welcome to the community.
Thank you. Thank you. So excited to be here.
Yeah, so I want to make sure we set the table with each of you. So why don't we just go like, Rachel, you first, tell a little bit about your backstory as it pertains to this. And then Angie, we'll have you do the same thing. And then we'll get into a conversation.
I like it. Yes. Well, speaking of authenticity, one of the things that I did at the Sales Mastery was give a little dose of my background and getting into the field of brain mapping and neurofeedback. So I'll just start there and let you guys know I was definitely a little bit of a wild child growing up. Long story short, I ended up getting diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is an unfortunate diagnosis that basically is a life sentence of medication management. And once you get a diagnosis like that, it's really difficult to know kind of what your path forward is going to be. But luckily for me, that's not where my life stopped. And my parents ended up finding out about this amazing therapy called brain mapping and neurofeedback. So I gave it a whirl. I went and did it, and I had my brain map done at the beginning. And really it showed that my frontal lobe, which is truly like your decision maker of your brain, was virtually going 100 miles an hour with no brakes. So as a young girl, I'm feeling completely out of control of my own emotions, of my own choices, of my own behaviors. And after I went through this neurofeedback program, the new brain map that I did not show one pattern of bipolar disorder. And so I could really say that I kind of outbeat that diagnosis. And so after that happened, I was struck by a chord, and I was like, I need to do this. I need to show other people the power of being able to change your brain and how that can unlock your potential. So I changed my major. I went off to school, and it's just painted the way. I started the brain mapping and neurofeedback company that we have now called Braincode Centers. And over the last 10 years, it's just grown and grown and grown. And Angie can tell you her story, but it's been an amazing journey. It has not came without a lot of falling on our butts, figuring it out. I had no business background, and all of a sudden I'm a CEO of a very large company as we've gotten bigger and bigger. And we have 44 employees now, and we have no plans on stopping anytime soon, but it's been amazing. We help people truly, from CEOs of companies, people like yourselves listening that maybe don't have a lot of chief complaints, but they're just looking to optimize their performance, get focused a little bit better, all the way to kids with ADHD and people struggling with sleep. I mean, we see it all. Your brain controls a lot of how you show up. So that is what we do. That is what our passion is. And we've been so excited to get immersed in the mortgage industry and meet all these loan officers and real estate people. It's been really fun. You guys are a very unique group of individuals. So it's been a joy.
Well, that is for sure. We are a unique crew. Where are you located, by the way? Where is this what part of the country?
So right now I'm sitting in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Our business is in Denver, Dallas, and Oklahoma. And then we have a remote platform as well. So anybody can train their brain. We have clients in Dubai and Africa, kind of all over, but our mega hub is based in Denver.
So go Broncos. I was born in Denver and a Bronco fan forever. Hopefully we'll have a better season this next year.
I was going to say, even this year, even after this year.
I still, again, I was born and had a Denver Bronco bedspread. I think bed cover. So I still represented, but it was painful. Hopefully we have better days ahead.
Listen, true fan when they're good and when they're not good. And this year, you got to be a true fan because it was painful.
Oh, for sure. So Angie, give us a little backstory on you.
Absolutely. And I love, Todd, that you're in an alleyway because I think everybody can relate to that. I've been like in a closet, doing a Zoom, trying to get the least weird background. So the fact that you're in an alleyway with cars going, I'm like, that is relatable. That is authentic to me.
I wasn't missing this call with you two. So, I could have opted out, but I'm like, no, I want to be here.
You just do what you got to do. Right. No, I appreciate it. Yeah. So thank you so much for having us. Yeah. My background is definitely different than Rachel's, but hopefully relatable to some. That when I was, I grew up also in like a really loving and great family. And in the middle of my college career, I ended up suffering a skull fracture, traumatic brain injury that left me in a walker and having a lot of really severe cognitive deficits. And I am very blessed now to get to work with people with brain injuries. So if you're familiar with kind of the span of, concussion to TBI, a skull fracture is pretty serious. Through a lot of different, treatments and whatnot, neurofeedback, being one of them down the line, I was able to make some really incredible leaps and bounds, both physically and cognitively. I'm no longer in a walker. I would say that most people that would meet me probably wouldn't know that, I've suffered a really severe brain injury. But yeah, honestly, I kind of joke that I didn't find neurofeedback found me, that, it's something along the line, and, whether it's God or the universe, like neurofeedback came into my life and was absolutely the most perfect fit. So after grad school, I was recruited to, we had a different name back in the day, but Braincode Centers under a different name. And Rachel and I met and had a very instant friendship and connection, both business-wise and spiritually and emotionally. And it truly has grown from there. And we've had the most incredible experience I remember when I was seeing, 30 people a week. And then, over the span of a year and 2 years, I was seeing 120 people a week. And then we had 3 offices, and then we had 6 offices, and kind of getting to be really a part of that process from the ground up has been absolutely incredible. That we just moved one of our offices from a 5-room office to a 10-room office, and knowing that the amount of lives that we get to impact literally doubles at that office is mind-blowing and incredible. And I'm so thankful to be a part of it. And then Rachel and I getting to then, kind of separately, but all intertwined, get to go out and speak on mental health and wellness and bettering ourselves. And yes, we work with a lot of, brain injuries and anxiety and depression. We also work with a lot of peak performers, right? Who just want to find that 1%, how do I have that edge? Right. And that's really, I think, what we bring to the table is showing people how, yes, it's a mindset thing, but it's a neurological thing, that we really do have control over our most powerful asset and our engine. And how do we really harness that?
Wow. I mean, I am just so pumped. I mean, I am ADD, like I was one of those kids in third. I know everybody laughs because the world is ADD now, but I was, diagnosed as a young kid, was also a wild child, that was put on Ritalin at a young age. I don't, do any outside external medication, and I am severely dyslexic. And then I have a younger brother who is, disabled, from a bipolar. So I lived some of those things myself, like turned them into superpowers. And then I have a family member who, hasn't been able to do that. So we're going to do the neurology of the top 1%, but I want to do it in the context of solving a few problems for mortgage professionals. So I've interviewed thousands of loan officers, and the ones that are the most successful have built these calluses around prospecting, around doing what they need to do to create new business relationships with people, and it takes a lot of courage. And they, I don't know if they all just were at birth, like Jeremy Forcier. The guy is just a prospecting animal. And then there's a lot of people that's what keeps them out of the top 1% in the mortgage industry, is they don't do what they need to do every day. They don't prospect. And then the other key success criteria I've seen among the thousands of interviews that I've done of top producers is that the top producers have like their superpower is to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Like they're always evolving, like how they adopt new habits. They, like CRM is a good idea. Well, they learn how to do it. And if a better idea comes around, like MortgageCoach, we're a technology company, and the people that kill it with our product, they unlearn how to give a fee worksheet, and then they learn how to deliver advice and an experience. So I want to make sure, let's do it in the second half of the call, but I want to make sure we really address those two kind of, like, how can a loan officer, a mortgage advisor, like change, have some control over their brain and get on the path to being one of the top 1%ers. So that's one thing. And then Todd, I'm going to ask the first question, you ask the second question, and then we'll just go from there. So, and you two decide on who's going to talk. Like, I'm not going to keep picking the two of you because you're each of your wheelhouses. So one of you, kind of calls it. So let's just talk about the neurology of the top 1%, because that's what you chose to present on at Sales Mastery, and that's what Todd had you do. Give us a high level what that was all about, one of you.
Angela, you start with that one.
Perfect. Yes. So that answer is kind of twofold, right? That one, how are you kind of in the top 1%, right? And that's kind of why we chose the name for our talk, that, some people might not relate to that. They're like, oh, well, I'm not in the top 1%. Also, the neurology of the 1% is, how do I get 1% better every single day? So maybe, we're really focusing on not only people who maybe are already in the top 1%, or wanting to be in the top 1%, but also to every single person, that I believe everybody can be achieving to get that 1% better every single day, right? And that really is through neuroplasticity and neuroflexibility that every single person is capable of. The brain is always neuroplastic. It is always willing to change. It's a matter of how do we do that. So if you heard our talk in California, or if you did not, it doesn't matter. We gave a lot of tangibles of kind of how to do that, right? And a lot of them are basic things that we can do every single day. So just some kind of tips and tricks, if you will, that for people maybe like yourself, Dave, who are a little bit scattered. You said, ADD, and it sounds like your brain is probably a little bit fast and a little bit wild naturally, right? Even listening to you talk, it sounds like you run at a little bit faster speed.
Yeah.
Right.
Very.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people who maybe kind of function in that like higher level and feel like they're a little bit hypervigilant and their brain is all over, how do we kind of rein that in? One awesome trick is box breathing, right? And that I'm going to literally teach you how to do that. That is physically breathing in for 4, holding it for 4, breathing out for 4 and holding it for 4. I like to start my day this way. I like to end my day this way. It is physiologically going to disrupt the stress signals in your brain. So sometimes we get on that kind of hamster wheel, right? Where we're going, and oh, I just can't seem to get something done and I'm all over the place. Truly stopping and disrupting that signal in our brain is going to help bring us into a better sense of focus. So that is something every single person can do. You don't have to have, a bunch of, oh, well, I don't have my device. All you need is your physical body. You could do it in the middle of a meeting and no one's going to know you're doing it, right? Just breathing in, counting in, breathing in for 4, holding for 4, breathing out, holding for 4, right? Another awesome trick is going to be.
Could I just pause real quick? Because by the way, Rene Rodriguez, when he saw that we were having you, he was like, shout out. So everyone know that Rene Rodriguez, because this community knows Rene really well. He thinks these two are amazing. And when I've done Amplify like, I don't know, 3-4 times. And one of the biggest takeaways I got the first time I went was the power of box breathing. So I want any low for listening to this. Like, you may have heard this before, this, but are you doing it? And I truly believe that, box breathing is like one of the easiest hacks to like, and I have to meditate. Like, I don't do outside medication, but if I don't meditate twice a day, then, I'm off the rails. But that box breathing, guys, like first of all, who's doing it? Remember, this is a mastermind. If you are doing box breathing, let us know. If this is the first time you ever heard it, you're like, oh, that's a new idea. Let us know that too. So anyways, next hack.
Yeah, I love that. Also, that is a mutual feeling, right? That we think Rene Rodriguez is phenomenal, the top. So love that he feels that way about us. We feel that way about him, that he's amazing. His wife is amazing. But yeah, you're right. That is such an amazing kind of tip to do. One thing, that we've noticed a lot of times, right? We go to these conferences and we leave feeling jazzed, right? Yeah, I'm going to get after it. And we have a toolbox full of tools. How do we actually start to utilize them? And I think box breathing is a really easy way to remind yourself throughout the day, hey, I'm feeling a little bit scattered. Bring it back, right? You don't have to have a quiet space. You don't have to be in a certain, room of your house. It can be something that you can do anytime, any place. So that is something the top 1%ers, the people, and this is not something that we think, this is something that we know through research. The people that we are meeting, CEOs of companies, high-level influencers, athletes, things like that, have mastered their breathing. So breathing is not something that, oh yeah, it sounds like something. The top level performer people are learning to master their breathing, therefore mastering their brain. So that is one amazing kind of tip or trick that people can utilize truly to help elevate themselves to that next, whether that's the top 1% or that 1% better every day. Another tool to utilize is bilateral stimulation tapping. And literally that is going to be tapping on either side of your body progressively. You can do it on your temples, you can do it on your breastbone, you can do it on your shoulders. If you're in a meeting, you can do it on your legs so no one can see that. Again, this is another physiological way to disrupt those signals in your brain. So when your brain is moving a little bit too fast, or if you're feeling a little bit sluggish, this is a way to get your brain back on track physiologically. So this is not something that you have to, okay, mind over matter. It's something very physically that you can do to help engage your brain and get you back on track.
So time out. So
all right, so let me ask a tactical question on that. So if I'm going to do box breathing, how long am I going to do that for? Is it like, 4 sets or 4 reps or a minute, or what does that look like? And then the same thing with the bilateral tapping, which you guys can't see, all who are out in listening or watching this on YouTube, but I can see all 4 of us and we're all sitting here doing our tapping while Angie's talking about that.
No, I love it. So that's a really good question. It kind of depends on the person, right? If someone is feeling really scattered, I would say though, bare minimum, do it for a minute, right? If you can, do it for 2 minutes, right? This is something, it's only going to benefit you the longer that you do it. But to tell someone who's never done box breathing, hey, sit there for 10 minutes and box breathe, is probably going to feel, it feels like a little bit too much. Do it for 60 seconds and watch it change you. Actually, an example that Rachel and I gave, her and I were in a hotel one time and we needed to record a video actually for the sales mastery. And normally Rachel and I, a quick video, first take. We were on take like 13. she's messing up and I'm messing up and we're so frustrated. And we stopped and said, hey, practice what we preach. We did literally 60 seconds of box breathing, got it on the next take. We were scattered, we were unfocused, 1 minute of box breathing, and we were right back on track. So again, this is not something that we talk about. This is something that we daily utilize to increase that 1%.
One other fun note, if you're a little needing help with intentionality, there's actually these little wearables that some people like to buy. They're called touch points. So feel free to like Google them, but you actually wear them around your wrist, kind of like an Apple Watch, and it produces the bilateral stimulation. And then it has a couple different levels on it. So one's more for calming, one's for activating more of focus, but that way it does it for you and you can continue on your merry way. So there's a lot of different resources out there to not make being intentional, right? If intentional is part of your problem, there's a lot of different ways that it's like, there's no excuses here. You have resources, so go out there and get them.
Totally.
Hey, and just to complete Todd's thought on the bilateral tapping, how long on that? And is it like literally like my arms are crossed and I'm just going like this? Is that a move?
I cross my arms. You do not have to cross your arms. You are just every other one. So they're not going at the same time, every other one. And again, it's actually because it's working on both hemispheres of the brain and disrupting those signals in your brain.
How long?
Yep. So while you're doing it, when I go to sleep at night, because I can have trouble sleeping sometimes, I do it on my temples, and that tends to help me just get it a little bit faster and then drift into sleep a little bit faster.
Like a minute of that, minute to two?
Yep. I would say both for box breathing and tapping, I would do it for a minute to start and then see how you can increase that over time.
Love it. Cool. So any other tips or tricks before we go to the next question?
I mean, we have a bunch of tips and tricks. I would say come here and speak at some event sometime and we'll give you the laundry list of them. One last one that's really powerful that again, just a lot of people don't do, journaling. There's a lot of research on writing down. When you put that pen to paper, thoughts untangle through the passing of the pen. And there's a lot of research where if you're actually thought dumping and getting things that are stored up in your body, frustration, stress, and you're literally dumping them, it actually changes how your nervous system is aroused or under aroused. So journaling is very underrated in our opinion. And there's a lot of neuro research around just writing, not with your phone, not typing, pen to paper.
Right on.
Well, of course, I love that. I love that. So
go ahead.
When you journal, you said brain dump. So I heard you say that, but is there ever a prompt that you use when you're doing a journal that you would recommend to people?
There's a lot of different things that you can do, right? You can dump gratitude lists, you can dump frustrations, you can do pros and cons lists, you could do just freestyle journaling. I think that it kind of depends on what you're struggling with. I would say if there is a grievance or a frustration or a stress, I would write on that and truly like dump that out, kind of get that out of your system. If it's confusion or lack of clarity, I personally would do a pros and cons list so that your brain can actually see what's going on and you can process it out on your own. So I think it would be like a case by case what you're really struggling with. Gratitude is great to help you just start your day and get into a place of focus and joy and motivation and confidence. So those are some of the suggestions I would make.
We meet a lot of people who have a lot of ideas and want to achieve a lot of things and kind of can't get started, right? That there's too much. How do I get started? How do I accomplish these? You are actually 47% more likely to achieve a goal simply by writing it down. So I meet a lot of people who they have a lot of goals, they want to do a lot of things. And Rachel and I will physically ask them, well, where's that written? Where did you put that down? Well, I have it, right? I know the goal. Literally, you almost are 50% more likely to achieve it simply by writing it down. So we want people to be goal setters and to have very lofty goals, but literally putting them in a journal, putting them on paper, and then going back and checking in on those goals regularly is going to significantly up your chances of achieving them.
So I want to make sure I bring in some thoughts from the community. So Marina just said, wrote it on my whiteboard while box breathing, or she wrote box breathing on her whiteboard. So nice job on that, Marina. And then Paul Hurley said, first time I've heard this, so cool. You're bringing new ideas. But I want to remind folks, even if you're hearing things that are not new ideas, like, are you doing them? And by the way, are you achieving your goals? Like, if you're killing it and you're achieving your goals and your life is on plan, well, then you got winning habits. But if things aren't on plan, are you doing these things? I had never heard it called bilateral tapping, but I have gone through some sessions where I did tapping, and I'm gonna experiment with that. That is super rad. Another push, guys, when it comes to journaling, we've done a lot of life planning here in this community, and if you don't have a 5-year plan, like literally, you've written down who are you going to be in 5 years. I think in a market like this, when it is so tough, getting a good, clear 5-year plan has never been more important. Making sure that you're going and revisiting that 5-year plan. So Todd, you've seen him speak. You've interviewed these two before. What is like the goal? Like, ask a question so that before we run out of time, whatever you think is going to create the most value for the audience. What question do you have for the two of them?
Well, I mean, I think it's super cool that you actually do your neurofeedback and you can do it remote. So kind of explain that to somebody who's thinking, oh, this sounds really cool. I'd love to learn more about it. What would be the process to ask you and your team questions? And then what would that experience be like actually having this done remotely?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So you were talking, Dave, about, right, what is the limiting factor? We have these people, some people are in their top 1%, some people are striving to get 1% better, but why are some people there and some people aren't? And you're talking to two neurospecialists, so we see it a lot through the lens of the brain and where the brain is maybe not firing as optimally as it could. And so if you think about everything that we're talking about today is like software components. So exercise, nutrition, journaling, tapping, having goals and setting intentions. Those are all really, really awesome and needed software updates, if you will. Your hardware matters. It matters a lot. And so if your brain is representative of the hardware, you could have all this awesome software all day long. And if you're downloading it on hardware that has some struggle, you're going to reach plateaus. And so that's really where more intentional neurofeedback would come in. And we say, okay, let's actually measure your brain. So we're actually getting to the root of where these symptoms are coming from, right? If you think about clinical mental health, it is the only field in healthcare that does not measure the organ that it treats. It's crazy. You go to a therapist or you go to get some meds and you talk about stuff. And by the way, we're therapists, so no bashing on that. But or you go to a PCP, get some medication, right? Why are we not looking at the brain for some answers? So that's what we specialize in. We would actually get a baseline QEEG brain map where we can actually look and see where those answers are. And then for a remote standpoint, if you're not located in one of our states that has centers, we would mail you out a headset. I actually have one right in front of me because I was doing a training, so I'll just show it to you. But this headset has little electrodes on it. And those electrodes are able, oh, nice, Ange, are able to pick up electrical activity that your brain organically produces. We then on the back end have a dashboard where we would put your tailored protocols. So if your brain, this is very broad, but if your brain is overactive, scattered, distracted, anxious, a protocol might be, hey, we need to calm it down. We need to relax the brain a little bit. Or if you're struggling with motivation and getting outside of yourself to focus and getting stuff done and energy, we might need to increase some of the power. And so we tailor that to what your goals are, put it into our dashboard. And then this headset is connected to your phone with an app, good for 2023 technology. And you can actually do your brain training from the comfort of your home. We have a couple like first responders and they train when they're in their car, like on site waiting. So there's all these different ways people can train. But it's a really great way to actually get to optimize your brain's potential and use the resources like Angie was talking about, then to now you're having both software and hardware kicking butt. And now look at the production that can happen from that.
Rad. Like I had not heard this. I am super pumped. How much does it cost to engage with you guys and what would be the next steps? Because I'm personally interested after hearing this.
Yeah, and we can chat about that more. I'd say on average, it's about I'd say about $500 a month to do the remote program. Usually we have a 6-month or a 9-month program. And yeah, it ranges like $450 to $500 a month.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. So we'll make sure we put a link. What is the link? Like if someone wants to go and learn more about this, where should they go?
Yeah, so the best place to go is going to be to our website at braincodecenters.com. Rachel and I do 100% of the consultations for the company. So if you are interested in neurofeedback, we're going to do a 45 completely free minute consultation to just basically understand a little bit more. Obviously, we're giving really high level information here. We never want it to cost people anything to educate themselves and understand, is neuro even a good fit for them? So if ever you are interested, Rachel and I are going to be the people that you meet with to talk about that. And we can help you determine, is neurofeedback a really good next step for you? But at Braincode Centers, you can fill out an inquiry and then our team will get you on the schedule to connect with us very soon.
And if you're watching this in YouTube, guys, down below, there'll be some show notes, and that will be the first call to action. So make sure you guys check it out. If anyone in this community has been through it and you've got some great feedback, share that in notes or comments. And I am pretty sure, well, no, I am going to check this out. I will be filling out that form by the time the day's out. So let's do this. I want to make sure that right now it's a tough market out there. And Todd is a great leader by example. For last month, he had multiple days where he made 100 calls a day. Like, it's time to call a lot of realtors. It's time to make a lot of calls. And then another thing, it's an important time to become an advisor. Like one of the missions I have is to change how people get into debt in America. And loan officers sell money. Hey, here's your rate, here's your payment, here's your cash to close. A mortgage coach helps give advice. And so those are like two behaviors. I want them to have a lot of leads, so they got to make a lot of calls. And two, they need to go from loan officer to mortgage advisor. What are some things that you would call it prescribe? Like, let's say there's loan officers on here and they're like, hey, what are some brain science things I should do to help me? I know I'm supposed to make lots of calls, but I'm never doing it. Any blind diagnosis you guys can do for the audience here?
My first thought, you were talking about even Amplify, right? And the number one thing I learned at Amplify is people finding their voice and finding the congruence that they need to go out and be the best version of themselves, right? And so there's so many limiting beliefs that people have. Obviously, we believe that there's also limiting neurological pathways. You have to be able to figure out what those are so that you can get the answers that you need to move forward. But a lot of it, we just talked about, Todd, take your blurred vision off, like just be yourself, like make the calls. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Sometimes you just have to have progress before perfection, right? Perfection is not the goal. And so I think for a lot of people, it's just a lack of intentionality, right? And so you have to ask yourself, where is that lack of intentionality coming from? Is it lack of confidence? Is it lack of motivation? Is my health in the way? Like, what is going on? And if you don't find that answer, you're going to come across those plateaus all the time. So maybe for you start journaling and figuring out, why don't I make those calls every single day? Why do I feel like I'm fumbling on the phone, or my heart is beating out of my chest when I'm on the call? Like, that's probably some sort of worthiness or lack of confidence coming out. And of course, that's going to be a subconscious under motivator on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Dave, and I have another thought as well, and it's kind of around mindset, right? And this, I think, was so powerful at the Sales Mastery, that we keep saying, like, it's such a tough market. One, this is not the first time that has happened, right? This is not the first tough market. This is not the first tough thing. For example, Rachel and I, when COVID hit, right? We are an entirely in-person, besides remote business, right? So we went from 500 clients a week to 50. And so it was the mindset that either we naturally pull back. What do we do when things get hard? We pull back, we protect ourselves. If you're with someone who is uncomfortable, you will watch their body language. Physically, they'll have their arms crossed, they pull back, their head down. They're physically trying to protect themselves. And we see that with people right now in the market. Well, I need to pull back. I need to protect myself. I need to protect my assets. Let me tell you what we did during COVID. We dove in head first. We put extra money into marketing. We dove straight in versus pulling back. and we did nothing but thrive because of it. So, and I truly believe that that is a manifestation of the mindset that we had. Rather than, this is so tough, we need to lay off all of our employees, we need to pull back, we need to shut down, whatever that looks like. Have the mindset, I am going to be successful this year. I'm going to kill it. The market, that doesn't matter. There have been tough markets. Incredibly successful businesses have been born out of difficulty, have been born out of recession. So make sure that you are the person not pulling back. You're the person pushing in, and you will be that much more successful because of it.
Guys, I'm going to put an exclamation mark around that, because all of the greatest leaders through tough times, and there's always war times, you know, and yeah, this is a wartime. Last year was a wartime in the industry, and 2020 and 2021, while the world was at a really tough spot, like if you were in the restaurant business, it was a war, but if you were in the mortgage business, you were killing it. And in those difficult times is when the best get market share. You know, they go through the pain of change, they adopt new habits, they actually accelerate the 1% per day better, and they crush it. So amen to that. So John Cordes, so first of all, dude, you're a stud. You know, he put a comment in here. I am doing EMDR, which does bilateral stimulation in the presence of a therapist to help undo some hurt that I have from past experiences. It's a game changer. So first of all, John, you're a stud. Thank you for having the courage to share that in this venue, and you rock. And just a push to everyone. Like, if you are not prospecting, and you know you should, and it's been going on for a long time, address it. If you are like, oh, I am a loan officer and I know I need to be a mortgage coach and I need to deliver more than price, I need to deliver advice, but you're still not doing it, address it. You know, when I teach at scale and I help, you know, like speak at sales rallies, I always, at some point in the conversation, tell people to make sure you, I don't call it journaling, but I go write down your why. Like, why are you, like, because, you know, they're in the room, they're pumped, I'm sharing success stories. I've never said, okay, who's going to start using Mortgage Coach, and not have like 90% of the room raise their hand. And then I know 90% doesn't do it, but I always push them like, hey, right, why are you going to do it? Like, the more personal and the more clear your why, the more likely you're going to get through the pain of change. What are your thoughts on that, guys? That like why I need to adopt a new habit, and how to journal on that. Like, what's happening in the brain when people do that?
Do you want to talk about it, Rachel? Or you want me to?
I have a thought, but you can go first, and then I'll share my thought. We might have the same thought, but you go ahead.
We probably do. You know, Dave, I love that you said that. And that truly, that is the thoughts being, you know, untangled through the passing of a pen. That's what that is, right? Write down your why. I also would challenge people, write down, if you've written down your why and you're still not doing it, write down that limiting belief. Why am I not doing this? Is it, I can't afford this, right? That again, and obviously, you know, your financial situation, that is you pulling back and protecting. Well, I can't afford that. I need to protect my assets right now. Again, this is where our challenge is to lean in, right? That is an investment in yourself. That is an investment in your business. And that truly, we actually talked about that at the Sales Mastery, mentorship, right? That if you are a younger person in the field, who are you getting to mentor you? Because there are a lot of people in the field who were around in 2008, right? They've been through it. They're like, oh, this just comes around every few years, right? You maybe never have been, they have been. Who are you getting to pour into you, right? And then if you are someone who is in the field, maybe more senior, who are you pouring back into, right? That is, again, you pouring into the field versus pulling back and protecting yourself.
I love that.
My thought was a little bit more on actually knowing what your value is. I think, again, I'm going back to the Amplify event that I was at. I would say 70% of people in that room did not know what their why was. They thought they did. They had their business, they had their real estate thing going on. They were a loan officer. And when you really dove into it and started to actually like open up the closet and dig through, you have no clue what your why is. You don't know what your purpose is. You don't know why you wake up every single day. You think that you do, but there's actually a much deeper rooted passion and purpose that I think we all have within ourselves that a lot of people just haven't been brought into awareness of. And I think that takes work. It takes, again, mentoring. It takes classes. It takes people like yourselves, challenging them. But if you don't figure out what that is, then you're never going to speak in congruence with your authentic self. And you're going to lose people in that transaction because nobody wants to talk to somebody that's, trying to sell them something, right? They want to talk about like, why do you love this so much? And why do you wake up every day? And why should I work with you? And so that's another reason I think people just need to figure out what is your value, what is your purpose, and what is your actual why. Dig a little, it's known in psychology, it's 7 layers deeper than you actually think it is. And if you haven't figured out what's that number 7th layer is, you probably don't have it right.
Yeah, I would definitely, I love that. And, when Dave, I'm sure you remember when we first started this group, based off of Darren Hardy's Insane Productivity with Mortgage Coach that you and I collaborated on, we did the Mortgage Coach Why worksheet, which I've adopted. I use that in my operating system, group coaching. I think it's really important, right? We heard before, right? Angie said mindset, right? Rachel, you said confidence. I mean, all these things, I think I'm preaching to the choir, right? You're over 40 minutes into watching this. So you are here to learn, you are here to be mentored, but really think through these things, because I do find that the number one leadership quality that people lack is confidence, and that's the reason that they're not picking up the phone and making the calls that are need to be made. So just think through what you're hearing here and figure out what steps you can take in order to take action.
So guys, you can Google Mortgage Coach Why worksheet. And when I developed that Why worksheet, it didn't just go right into like, why should you be a mortgage coach? It started with, why am I a mortgage professional? Like, because the more you're clear on your mortgage why, and then by the way, the more your mortgage why goes beyond, I want to make a lot of money, I want to close deals. And it's like, I like helping people. I want to help people achieve the American dream of homeownership. And I realize homeownership is not just having a home, it's having a home and being financially free. Whatever it is, get clear on your mortgage why. Like, it's a time in the market where you need that why, and you need to document it. And then I love the edit you guys both made. And then you guys journal, why not? Like, why aren't you, whatever it is, whether it's prospecting more, whether it's delivering advice versus price, you're not using your CRM, you're not using some technology, like journal on this stuff. Why should you do it? For a personal, authentic way. And why aren't you doing it? Like, 2 things. And then guys, Renee Rodriguez Amplifies come up multiple times. We are all amplified. I didn't know you 2 were before the call, but clearly it was an experience that we all shared. And I think, we'd all say, guys, check it out. Like, there'll be a link down below you could go learn more about it. I've interviewed Renee countless times. So guys, if you don't even know what we're talking about, make sure you check out the link, and also put a link to one of my favorite interviews with Renee down there. So Todd, we're moving into the 4th quarter. We got 15 minutes left, 16 to be exact. Ask another question. You've seen these guys twice, you've interviewed them. What has to come out in this conversation in order to get the most value to our audience today?
Well, you kind of said that, I always believe what you said. The group here survived the market, right? Jonathan Roach came on, he said, you're all undefeated at hard times. And so maybe we can just dig in a little bit more on that for the people who are stuck, right? We've given a few strategies, so I'd encourage them to use that. We've obviously given, your company as a resource to reach out and get advice that way. But really, for the person who's sitting here going, yeah, well, whatever their limiting beliefs are, I mean, what would you say would be the next steps for them to overcome it once we get done with this call?
One of the things that I'll say is, and you're talking to 2 therapists, but when you find a really good therapist, and we are big fans, both Angie and I, have Gestalt therapy, like specific Gestalt therapy. If you don't know what that is, we're not going to go down a tangent today, but it really is figuring out what happens in my childhood, usually younger ages, that impacted who I am today, and why I maybe present the way that I do today, and some of my ailments or frustrations or limiting beliefs. And I love that, John, you talked about EMDR. There's obviously a lot of different ways to figure out what your why is, but in Gestalt therapy, you really can actually figure out what your why is on a much deeper level. And so Gestalt therapy is another really great tool. There's different Gestalt therapists in everybody's different states that you can look into. We have a really good person. If you're struggling finding someone, happy to send our personal therapist your way. But that's definitely a really great start. This is really simple, but it just made me think of it. Angie and I actually, after we've been trying to plan this intentional hour block for our goal setting. By the way, it's March 3rd, and we've been talking about doing this since December probably, and we're like, yeah, let's do our goal setting meeting. All that is we didn't put it on our freaking schedule. We didn't block off the hour on our shared calendar and get it on there. It just kept getting, back burned. I can imagine there's so many people on this call that know exactly what they need to do, and you're just not scheduling it. So if you're not taking that initial first step, or your initial first step at calling the Gestalt therapist, it's like, oh, that's a good information, I'm going to go write it down. But are you going to schedule a time to lock 15 minutes and Google search it? And I know that's basic, and we all learn that everywhere. But I mean, truly, Angie, I'm so excited to do our call, and we should have done it months ago. So we all make those mistakes, but it's about reflecting on why are we not hitting those goals? What do we need to do? Getting back to basics. It's usually getting back to basics. So that's another thing right after this, get back to your basics.
I love that, Rach.
I love.
Yeah, one thing that I was going to add, just for people, I feel like Rachel had touched on, value work, and Dave, you talked about, okay, maybe it's something that, I want to earn a lot of money. I think we keep, as we get 7 layers down, sometimes we expect that why to be really positive. I love my family. I have a need for achievement. What if you get 7 layers down and it's fear-based, right? Sometimes we got to understand. And for a lot of people, fear is a really heavy motivator. It is not the motivator. We have to change that. So there are actually values worksheets that you can download online. Truly, Google values worksheet. Reach out to Rachel and I, and we'll get you a values worksheet. And that is understanding actually what your core values are: security, money, achievement, those things. And once you get down to that deep level, then you can understand what is motivating that. Okay, so my number one motivator is security. I need security. Is that fear-based motivation, or is that drive-based motivation? Once you actually understand what that deeper level motivation is, if it's fear, hey, it is what it is. How do we now transform that? Because fear is not the most powerful motivator, but it is a motivator for a lot of people. So
much power. So if anybody wants to share, what are you going to schedule? Like, what aren't you doing that isn't scheduled? Todd put in chat just now, and you've heard him say it before, what gets scheduled gets done. So probably not the first time we've all heard it, but I guarantee we're not all doing it. In fact, I'm not going to get into personal details, but there was something that I, saying I'm going to do that I haven't been doing, and it wasn't scheduled. I scheduled it and it got done. So do that. So here's a question that came from the audience. Marina, thanks for being active. And we're going to go outside of lending for a second. Although I think as a professional, guys, what you do outside of lending is everything. Your sleep, are you starting your morning right? In order to kill it in business, it's always outside of business that matters. And Marina, I can relate to this because I've moved before with my kids. My daughter has dyslexia like me. So I've dealt with this question, and I want you two to both answer this. Any advice you have for parents to help our elementary children with confidence in changing schools? I have a feeling that not only will that help some folks, but I guarantee whatever they're going to say, well, I don't guarantee it, but it's probably going to help us adults as well. So who wants to answer that question?
I'll start. I'll talk
questions. Sorry, I just want to clarify. Is it 2 separate questions? Confidence and changing schools, or confidence in changing schools?
Well, she said, I'll read, she said, any advice for us parents to help our elementary children with confidence and changing schools? But my guess is, it's confidence because they're changing schools. Like, any ideas?
Okay. Yeah.
My 6-year-old, and we started this, I don't actually know why, but I started with him about a year ago. And as I'm pulling him up to the drop-off line, we just do almost like a verbal manifestation or just kind of prayer, whatever you want to call it. But we literally start off the day and he repeats it after me. And it's, I am brave. I am confident. I just say something different every day. I am courageous. I am funny, whatever it is. And then we always say, I'm going to have a great day. I know I can. And like we say, Jesus loves me. And it has become something that I cherish deeply. I love that. Just, it takes us 15 seconds to do it. He always walks out of gets out of the car with a smile on his face. And I'm not saying that is the end all be all for everybody. I understand change and transition is so complex, but it's the same thing that we're talking about on this call, right? What are those little tiny things that you are doing? When my son gets out of the car, I'm anticipating that he is going to take that little chant or whatever it is, and he's going to believe that. Like, he is brave, he is confident. And when you start to speak that out, that changes how your neural patterns fire. So little things like that, I think, can be helpful. Obviously, a lot of explaining to him about what's going on and normalizing. A lot of people just need normalization. Like, hey, buddy, it's hard right now. It's hard when things are new. Being able to speak life into him in that way and kind of come alongside him in those struggles. And Marina, you're probably already doing that very well. So I don't want to think that that's it. Breath work. I've taught my kid how to do breath work since he was about 3 years old. When they're coming home and they're feeling emotional or teary or unconfident or sad, like, get them back to the basics, get them in tune with what their body's doing, because those are the very things that they can take with them, to their school, and implement that right then and there when they're feeling unconfident or nervous or having some social anxiety.
Your brain actually does not know the difference between like what you're saying and what you're feeling. So if you are feeling unconfident, but you are saying, I am confident, I am strong, your brain will start to believe that and your feelings will start to change. And we highly encourage that. That's where those daily affirmations come in, because do we feel confident every day? No, probably not, right? Everybody has really hard days. If you are saying that every single day, that will actually start to change those neural pathways. So speak into the universe, speak into your life, the things that you want, right? It's like dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Speak the things that you want, not the way that you're feeling at the moment.
So powerful. And I was so right. Like, everything they just said is super important for us adults as well. I have a thing that I used to tell my son when he played lacrosse, and I'd be driving to the game, and it was always have fun, play let's. Like, it's become this mantra in our family where we're always saying that to each other. Like, before I speak at a large event, I always like, have fun, play loose, have fun, play loose. And so those little chants, those little affirmations are huge. That was awesome. Thank you for that. And I know Marina appreciates it. So Todd, we're at the 5-minute buzzer. Any questions you want to ask them before we run out of time here?
Well, I don't want to load us up with a big question, but I would give you a good example of lack of follow through and a great lead follow up. Because when Deborah and I interviewed Rachel before, I said, hey, I'd love to talk to you about my daughter. And so she had her team follow up with me. She's followed up with me now. I haven't scheduled the appointment yet. So I'd encourage all of you to do what Dave said, right? She's shaking her finger at me. You guys can't see it. But, Dave said, hey, I'm going to do this by the end of the day. So think about what it is that you need to be implementing. And I think a lot of these things, I've heard about affirmations for years, and, I'm talk about gratitude, and I'm very grateful. And I built that into my practice, and I built kind of a positive focus in my practice. But I'm like, all right, let me come up with my own affirmations and do it. So I would just encourage you all to think about what those things are. And so, we've got the braincodecenters.com is in the chat. It's also in the Facebook group. I'd encourage you all to check it out. And so I would just ask the two of you, how do you think we need to close this out for a group of folks who are, some are doing well, some are crushing it, and then some are, a lot of them are struggling.
I always love to end with kind of a call to action, right? That I think we gave so many tools. We gave a lot of things. You have kind of this basket now. Pick one, right? You do not need to pick all 20. You don't need to pick 10. You don't need to pick 3. Pick one and implement it and truly put it on your schedule. Maybe that's 8 a.m. box breathing, but it is on your calendar. And all of us as professionals, we have something, Google Calendar, whatever it is, Outlook, it doesn't matter. Schedule it on your calendar. If that's affirmations, if that's box breathing, if that's tapping, it doesn't matter. put it on your calendar and implement it. One thing. Everybody is capable of implementing that one thing. I would say that's how I would end that call to action, that you are capable of it. Your brain is neuroplastic. It is capable of change. Utilize the tools in order to do that.
Love that thought, Angie. Rachel, any closing thoughts from you?
I would just say the same thing. We all have hope. And I want you guys to know, we have seen it time and time again, that people, when they are serious about changing their life and having actual transformation, and when they put the pedal to the metal and do it, we have quantitative proof of change that we see time and time again on brain maps. And wherever you are at in your journey right now, if you have goals to take you, maybe it's 1% further, or you know that you need to get 50% further, and it's going to take you 1% every single day, you are capable, and your brain is capable of change. You are not anxiety. You are not unconfident. You are not all these things that maybe you feel. Those are not you, and that is going to stop today. So that's kind of where I would put the period mark on.
You guys are amazing. So first of all, remember, guys, use the little reactions at the bottom. Let Angie and Rachel know what you thought of today's call. I know I thought it was amazing. You guys are, a real gift to the community. The links that we've talked about will be down below. I want to remind you guys, this is the last Friday before the Modern Mortgage and Modern Real Estate Summit next week. So we still do have a couple tickets for the live event. It's not a cheap event to attend, but I will tell you, anyone that spent $2,500 to be there in person is going to be with a very elite group of mortgage professionals that are, one, leaning into this market, and two, they've made the shift. They've gone from loan officer to data-driven mortgage advisor that's achieving at a high level. So if you want to join, I think it will sell out. Like, I do think we'll have 60 people in that room at Bradley's office next Thursday. So sign up, and then $100 you guys can watch it virtually. So make sure there'll be a link down below. This is the last Friday before that. I'm looking forward to meeting you both in the real world one day, Angie and Rachel. And I am going to sign up and do that 45-minute consultation, and I'm sure I'll be wearing a headband. Let me see that headband one more time. That looked pretty rad.
I can't wait to see Dave posting pictures of him in the headband. So
I don't know if I'm going
That's, I mean, obviously very attractive.
Yeah.
it's not as ugly as I anticipated. So yeah, I'm excited too. Remember too, as I'm leading an implementation mastermind on Friday morning in Vegas for those who attend from 9 to noon. So we're also going to help people take action. And I love what Angie said when I said, hey, what would you tell people to do, right? Dave always sets me up at the end to tell you all to take action, because ultimately, right, if you're here and you're just listening and you're not actually doing anything with it, it was just great entertainment. I want you all to be super successful. I love the ideas that were shared today, and I'm going to certainly reflect on the notes that I've taken and make sure that I'm stepping up my game and making sure that I'm that person I want to be. And that's what we want for all of you. So we're super grateful for all of you, grateful to get to spend time with Rachel and Angie. Check them out. Dave, as always, on behalf of the whole Trust Engine crew, my crew at Win by Noon, and of course, Deborah, who's not here from Plug and Play SM, we appreciate you. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, no, and guys, if you have not already subscribed to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, we're trying to get, I think we're almost in 21,000 followers. So make sure you subscribe. If you're a mortgage professional, the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. And then reminder, we started a new YouTube channel for Trust Engine, and it's all around modern leadership for lenders. So I'm going to be interviewing executives, CEOs, change agents in other industries, talking about modern leadership. So check out the Trust Engine YouTube channel. I want to get to 5,000 subscribers this year on that one. So check it out. Guys, this call is a wrap. Take care, everybody, and thank you for your time.